The Traveling Knight, Crispin, Chapter 2, Anointment. As the knighting ceremony begins, Crispin finds himself at the center of the crowd of the 25 or so young men gathered in the throne room. All of them are wearing the nicest clothes they own, and stand quietly as they are in the presence of their king. The herald, a portly man with short, red hair and a clean-shaven face, steps forward from next to the throne.
Thank you all for gathering here and for volunteering to serve your king. You do this kingdom of Westland and your families a great honor by passing the knight's test and accepting the responsibilities and code that comes with knighthood.
The portly herald paused here and ran his eyes over the group of young men as he let his words sink in.
When I call your name, step forward and kneel before your king. Submit and swear your fealty.
Again, the herald paused.
The crown now calls Derek of Alar to come before this court and company.
Crispin watched as the young man, a tall and thin man with short, dark hair and black eyes, stepped past him and approached the throne. He watched with curiosity as the young man knelt before the king and recited the knight's oath. He was curious about Derek's story and what led him to want to become a knight and what he hoped to achieve inside knighthood. Crispin had found out quickly that most people were not as curious as he was about the world and its people, and he wanted to know what Derek's story was. Crispin then turned his eyes to the portly herald and wondered what his story was, and if he enjoyed his job as a herald, and if so, was it just the prestige that came with the title, or did he genuinely enjoy the job? As each name was called, Crispin stood and asked countless questions, in his head. More and more names were called, until finally all the young men except Crispin were standing just in front of the throne, and off to the side against the wall, already knighted. The herald cleared his throat and called out,
The crown now calls Crispin of Balek to come before this court and company.
Crispin smiled as he heard his name and stepped forward without hesitation. He approached the king and his herald with thousands of questions burning on his tongue. The king. He had so many questions for the king that he could not ask. Bowing his head in respect, he knelt before King Arnold. Taking a deep breath, he spoke the honored words, careful not to let any of his burning curiosity slip through. This day do I render homage and fealty to my sovereign lord, King Arnold, by right of arms, King of Westland, who will from this day forward be my liege lord. I will remain true in all ways, serving him faithfully. This do I swear by my sword, and my shield, and my honor, and by the high ideals which I hold as a knight of this realm. So say I, Crispin of Balek. After he finished speaking, Crispin felt a new wave of curiosity. What new things would being a knight allow him to discover? Stepping forward, King Arnold's voice rang through the throne room. I accept your homage and fealty, and pledge to you that from this day forward until the end of my reign, you are my liegeman, to whom I give my service faithfully. As King Arnold spoke, he lightly touched the tip of his sword to each of Severn's shoulders. He then stepped back, and the portly herald spoke, You have his majesty's leave to depart. Hearing this, Crispin stood. Keeping his head bowed, he gave one last bow to the king, then turned and joined his brothers, who had already been knighted. As he walked over, that wave of curiosity only grew. He was a knight, an actual knight, serving his king and country. He would now be able to ask so many of the questions that were dancing in his heart, begging for answers. Crispin smiled as he took his place among his brothers. The king stepped forward. You have all sworn your fealty to this crown and to this kingdom. You have done us all a great honor. Thank you. The king then stepped back and the herald stepped forth.
Go now, and report to the training grounds. There you will meet your commanding officer and receive your assignments.
A young boy, a page, with blond hair, then appeared and guided the knights out of the throne room and showed them the way to the training grounds. As Crispin left the throne room, he felt a wave of anticipation at all the answers that awaited him. He knew his curiosity would never be sated, and he relished the thought of all the new questions he would think to ask as he continued on his journey through life.